Now, back to your friends, Don and Gino.
Welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate Finance Show, your resource for real estate and financial information that we all need to know. In fact, we have the best resource in the world now. We have put together the best of the best in Santa Clarita. We're talking the best financial planners, CPAs, trusted attorney, you name it, we have them because we've interviewed, we've had 200 and something shows now. Going on 300, and therefore we've realized who are the best of the best in this town. We're talking the best family law, anything you need. So if you want to find out more about this great group called America's Professional Resource Group, APRG, you can go to aprgi.com, aprgi.com. Check it out. You're going to see some incredible resources. And it's also, you can download an incredible magazine we put together, coincidentally, called The Vault magazine, which is basically your resource for anything you need in this town, which could be not just financial, but also could be just regarding, it's an entertainment and education magazine that's you're going to be amazed by this magazine. Again, it doesn't cost you anything. Just go to aprgi.com and click on the subscribe now, and you'll see some incredible articles. These are not ads. Most of the advertising you see are a bunch of ads that are trying to sell you something, not educate you. This is an education magazine. It's going to enlighten you on things you need to know about why I need a trust. How do I hold title in my home? What's going on in the mortgage industry? What's going on in case I have to get a divorce? And all those things that affect all our lives, it's in there.
I got to tell you, yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it is educational, but it is, I don't know, I think it's just a good read. I just think it's a good read. It's just something to sit down and read and go through, and even though it may not apply to you, it may apply to one of your friends, like you said. I mean,
or someday it may apply to you.
You know, yeah.
Sometimes you don't know when you're getting a divorce, but your spouse may.
Yeah, and you definitely want Reap Rickett in your court if that's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, again, aprgi.com. It's an amazing magazine. It's a real magazine. I mean, it's awesome, and it's only going to get better and better. So we'd love you to be part of that.
Yeah. In fact, if you have interest and want to see, if you checked out the magazine, you have interest in finding out more about us, give us a call at 855-DON-GINO, and we'll give you some insight into how that works, what the vetting
we're always
process
looking
is.
for great contributors, by the way. That's right. You'll see some great contributors in there. It's growing, and it's going to be the best resource in town. It's a high-level Angie's List because these are vetted professionals that have been in the industry, in most cases 15-plus years, most actually in our group 20-plus years.
Yeah, what I love to say is it's too expensive not to get good advice.
No doubt about that. Speaking of getting great advice, that's why we have Mr. Jeff Hunter with Real Pro Advantage in the studio.
Thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. So why don't we were talking about great questions, by the way, about what's going on with the whole Fannie Mae
getting taken to school here. I like it.
Well, you do that with us all the time. That's why you're our resource regarding anything regarding short sales or negotiations or what's going on in the markets. You're always on top of your game, sir. You do a lot of studying too, because you actually put out articles and the whole 9 yards of what's going on.
Yeah, I was mentioning earlier that, you know, talking about the bubble and where we are, and I read default mortgage news. I read a lot of different online magazines that have to do with our business. A lot of them not necessarily having to do with me. A lot of articles about people getting locked up for mortgage fraud and modification fraud and things like that, which is kind of interesting that that's still going on.
I know, amazing, huh?
Yeah, there was a group down in Orange County that just had a little bit of issue I was reading about, but it just I don't understand how it happens. But a lot of trusting folks out there that, you know, just.
Well, if you want a trusting resource, always you can reach out to us at Cherry Creek Mortgage. Our team is amazing. We close all our loans. We close them on time for you, and we explain every facet of that loan. So there's no surprises. Actually, all our surveys come back 10s. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's really exciting. In fact, we get to post those on our Facebook page. So why don't you check us out? Go to donandgino.com and hit the Facebook logo rather than the YouTube logo, and like us, because Don likes to be liked.
I do.
He gets hurt if we do one of these shows and we don't get some additional likes. So please don't hurt Don's feelings.
Yeah, I hate it when that happens. So, Jeff, why don't we talk about the state of short sales right now? I mean, are they done? Just nobody's short selling anymore?
No, thank goodness. You know, I mean, not for taking that for something that I do for a living and try to help folks out. No, they're still around. You know, they keep saying the magic number is 18 months, 2 years. There's still a lot of folks. Like you said, we're 16% roughly below the peak. Mm-hmm. Who knows if it's ever going to get that high. However, there's still a lot of people that borrowed money against their property at that number that are still underwater and not necessarily
Well, I mean,
in default.
that's the average. I mean, there's some people I know that are still well underneath,
Sure.
depending on which pocket you live in. I mean, there's actually 8 states now, I think, that are actually now have all-time highs.
Sure.
It's not happening here in Los Angeles yet, but there
Not
are
yet.
actually pockets of Los Angeles even that are like peaking again.
For sure.
You know
So
what's interesting
it just depends.
is you know, you brought up condos a little bit earlier. I had a conversation with a real estate agent this week and reminded them that there are certain condos here in town that have gone up 100% over last year. 100%.
Not
So
bad.
so what are the chances that if you buy in that complex today, it's going to go up 100% again? Slim
Yeah,
to none.
Right.
So they're starting to encounter some stagnation in their listings there, and that's where it takes a real estate professional to say, "Hey guys, you already made 100% back on your money since last year."
Mm-hmm.
But the reason that came up is most of the people in that complex are still underwater.
Sure.
There's
Yeah,
still going to
we've
be
worked
some
on-
distress there.
We've worked on, we do handle we handle condos and townhomes and whatever it is, but we've worked on many properties in many complexes that we're working on today, last year, and like you said, value we listed at 180, sold at 180 last year at this time, and now it's at 340, 350. It's the same unit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it went up. Great point. So yeah, it happens. I see it every day.
So who are you? Since you are the negotiation master, what is the principal clientele that you're working with right now? Who are you helping? Because I know I kind of teased a little bit about the whole reset thing,
Yeah.
whether it's either HELOCs or it's your modification. Because I know a lot of people, when their loan changes, it changes everything.
Correct. Yeah, we're dealing with a lot of people that placed. My terminology is they placed a Band-Aid over the issue, and
Right.
they took a modification that didn't necessarily help them financially, but it bailed them out of the foreclosure process, and they were able to find a way to make it through their 2, their 3, their 4. Now it's going to reset and last the next life of the loan, 5 years, and the payment is it's insurmountable at this point. That they Band-Aided it through those couple of years. They figured out how to do it, or even not. Some of these loans will reset every year. They'll step up, right?
Well, especially, you maybe got 3 or 5 years, but it's amazing how fast that comes up
Yeah,
on you, isn't
absolutely.
it?
Yeah, in fact, one of the things that I'd like to comment on is with those loan mods, one of the things that happens is it stops the foreclosure process and resets you back to zero.
That's right.
So a lot of people took a mod. Let's say the payment they couldn't afford was $3,400, and then the new payment for the mod, let's say, was $3,200.
Right.
That was still unaffordable.
Correct.
But because it restarted the process at zero, it allowed them to stay in the property now for an additional 12, 13 months. They kind of just started the whole process all over again. So you're seeing these redefaults on loan modifications.
That's right.
And now, that being said, you almost have to give the banks a little bit of credit because they were saying, we don't want to give loan mods because they never work. And they've seen it before 20 years ago,
Sure.
15 years ago, last time they did it. But they were kind of strong-armed by the government that they had to.
That's right.
And I think we're seeing, are you seeing HARP redefaults or are you seeing private mod redefaults?
It's a lot of HAMP
HAMP.
and proprietary modifications.
So the HAMP ones are redefaulting.
Absolutely.
Even the
Home
ones
affordable
2% at,
modification program.
even
Just
2% at 40 years?
I don't see those very often.
Okay. Because some people were
that's-
lucky enough to get 2% at 40 years. I would
That's
say
right.
those people are going to find a way to make it
I
happen.
would hope so.
Yeah, but a lot of you out there got, let's just say you start at 3.25%, which is great. You figured it out. You got pretty comfortable with that payment, and then 4 or 5 years later, it became 4.25%. Then it became 5.25%. That's a huge increase. All of a sudden, your
Sure.
payment goes up, which is say for round numbers 2,500 to 3,000, 3,500. That is a big blow because we all know that the economy is at a slow recovery, most because of no wage increases. We're creating more jobs, but a lot of part-time jobs. A lot of you had to take pay cuts or defer getting any kind of raises just to keep your job. So unfortunately, we're not having wage increase, and therefore that's why the economy is very slow in the recovery stages.
Yeah, in fact, there's a lot less wage increase because of the cost to the employer on the health insurance side. on the
my
payroll
goodness.
tax side.
I know it's affected us.
Yeah, so there's absolutely costs that are being rolled down to the employer that are also holding us back from being able to give raises because of costs coming from other angles as well.
That's right.
Do you mind if I go back real quick to that mod situation and
Please do.
maybe just like a training exercise for folks that are doing these? Understand what type of mod you have. Understand if they took principal and deferred it. Understand if they took principal and wrote it off. Understand what you're doing, because I've come across some situations that folks tried to sell with equity,
Oh, not realizing
not
there's...
realizing they signed another deed of trust. There's now that principal deferment
Right.
is a new deed of trust on title.
Which helped them lower their payment,
Helped
but
them-
they still owe it.
That's correct. So you go
Right.
to sell your house. This woman was, in particular, she had 80 grand to put on a new house.
Oh,
She
wow.
thought
All of a sudden
so,
she
huh?
thought so, and of course it wasn't the case. So, kind of a helpful hint: if you use us, if you don't, if you're talking to someone who's got a modification, understand what kind of modification.
How do they get a hold of you,
into.
Jeff? Because if you're thinking about it or just want to know your option, you can tell Jeff's a nice guy and Amy's even nicer. They're just amazing, and they're a great resource. We have great resources of the best real estate professionals in town that actually understand, short sales, and Jeff knows who they are. So how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah,
buddy?
never any obligation at 661-294-9194. If you just want to talk through whatever kind of issue you're having with regard to your loan, short sale mod, whatever.
What's your website?
www.realproadv.com.
All right, that's Jeff Hunter and Amy Hunter with Real Pro Advantage. You definitely want to speak with them. Very nice people. Before you go and make any moves, make sure you talk to them, because they'll guide you down the right path, and I believe that's the motto of our show. Guiding you to personal financial wellness right here, the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. Please don't go away. More good stuff to come.